And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Thursday, May 9th. I am Josh Engleman here to break down today's two-game slate. Cleveland Cavaliers, 13.5-point underdogs in Boston, 7 o'clock tip. Dallas Mavericks, 5-point dogs in OKC, 218 total, 9:30 tip. Coming off of yesterday's showdown, just Pacers and Knicks. Now we're back to two-game slates for the next few days until these series end. Shout out to Sleeper for being the sponsor of this show. We're very happy to have them. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Good morning, everybody. What's going on? Let's have some fun. Let's talk some basketball. Game 2, Cleveland, Boston. Game 2, Dallas and OKC. Should be fun. Should be fun. And you guys have success. Whoa, those were words. You guys have any success yesterday? Unfortunately, we got the missing quarter from Jalen Brunson. OG Anunoby probably going to be done for the playoffs. None of this is good. Yeah, Nembhard just cannot guard Brunson. They need to figure something out because that is not working. Melissa, good morning. Get some Gatorade in my stomach. I don't have much to say about yesterday. I think we should probably just get into it. I think that's where we're at. So let's do it. I know people will be slowly trickling in. They will have to catch up. We're going to start it off first and foremost. The Cleveland Cavaliers. They are massive underdogs. Don't think we're surprised. And for the however many straight days, we are going to be projecting Jarrett Allen, the questionable center for Cleveland, to be in. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. So they're obviously in a terrible spot. This much we know. Like, they're basically drawing dead against Boston, but we still have to look at some parts here. And I think it's fascinating. 33% ownership to Darius Garland right now. 29% ownership to Mitchell. So they're both basically 30. Karis LeVert's just shy of 20. Jarrett Allen and Max Strus are right at 10. Evan Mobley is at 7. I am not a believer in the Darius Garland ownership. I am a believer in the Donovan Mitchell ownership. Given what I see right now, my preference is to get to Mitchell, pay up more. I am 2xing Mitchell and not getting to Garland. So let's start there for chat. How do you feel about that relationship between Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell? Garland is 6,300. He's point guard only. Mitchell is 8,800, but he has point guard, shooting guard eligibility. I am not seeing Darius Garland as a guy that I want 33% of. Maybe I have a bad projection. Let's see. His current points prop is 16.5 with some heavy juice to the under. I have it at 15. I'm going to give him just the slightest bump to usage because I got him in for 36 minutes. We'll slowly work that those points up, but I'm not too far off of where that points prop is. Assist prop is 5.5 juice to the under. I have 5.3. I think I have Darius Garland projected pretty well. I think he's over-owned. Whereas for Donovan Mitchell, I have him ranked 5th overall. I think he's under-owned. We have Garland 28% optimal, 33% owned, a little bit of negative leverage. We have Mitchell 33% optimal, 29% owned, a little bit of positive leverage. I feel pretty good here saying that I would rather get to Donovan Mitchell than Darius Garland. Let's see what we're getting here in chat. Feels like everybody's with me on this one. That feels good. And it's not to say that Darius Garland can't go out there and pay off a $6,300 price tag. It's he needs 33 fantasy points for you to feel good about it. That's not that crazy. But if he's going to be that owned, I just think it's easier to find other places to be unique. And then for the rest of Cleveland, I mean, they don't even look that good. We have 20% optimal to Karis LeVert, 17% owned. We do have positive leverage on Evan Mobley, on Max Strus, on Jared Allen. These are guys that I find difficult to get to because I just hate this matchup. Did I get a little bit of LeVert, point guard, shooting guard? Yeah. In 24 minutes, he should be fine. Did I get a little bit of Jared Allen if he happens to play? Yeah, that's fine. I don't think Max Strus looks all that lovely at 5,300. If Evan Mobley is playing alongside Jared Allen at 7,700, I don't like that price tag. Do you guys like anything from Cleveland? I mean, they have a less than 100 implied total. That is really rough, especially with the pace of these games now. But I just really don't see the appeal of getting to Cleveland outside of Donovan Mitchell. And you kind of assume if you're going to get to Donovan Mitchell and it goes well, that this game is probably playing a little bit closer than the line. But I think fading 30% owned Garland is actually my preferred option for Cleveland. Whatever else I get from the Cavs, I can handle. Okoro, the only Cav I'm considering. I mean, I don't think you can consider him if Jared Allen is back. I think the only way that you could play Okoro and feel good about it is if Jared Allen is out. I'm fascinated by this Cleveland side. It doesn't seem like you can go to any of the value like Marcus Morris or Sam Merrill. I don't see that path. I think it's just Mitchell. It's really hard to be confident in anybody else. Like at the very least, Donovan Mitchell is going to get the shots up. Whether they're falling because of an awful defensive matchup for him or not, that's a different story. But I think I just want to bet on the shots. And if that's the case, at 8,800 for Mitchell, playing around 40 minutes, I think he's the only guy that I could feel confident in. Now, if Darius Garland's ownership comes down to like 20 to 25, that will make him look better for sure. I think at 33%, he's overowned. Boston, on the other hand, yeah, they're getting a little bit of ownership. I don't think anybody's going to be shocked here. 40% ownership to Al Horford, Derek White, and Jason Tatum. 35 to Drew Holiday. 30 to Jaylen Brown. 30 to Peyton Pritchard. 15 to Sam Hauser. And 10 to Luke Cornett. Now, Boston is, I would imagine. Okay, so no one's rostering Cleveland. 107% aggregate ownership. 228 to OKC, 229 to Dallas, 236 to Boston. So it's flat for the other three teams. I am basically with the field on Boston, a little bit higher. But I'm over on dudes, I'm under on dudes. You just have to get to a lot of Boston. Now, personally, I'm getting to more Jason Tatum than anybody else. 9,400, he's small forward, power forward eligible. He is rebounding like a machine in the playoffs, and that has been a very different role. He's channeling his Andrew Wiggins in the finals 3 years ago type mentality. But I want to get to Tatum. 9,400 feels very easy to get there. I like the matchup for him. But I'm also getting to Jaylen Brown, 8K, shooting guard, small forward. 29% owned. He's in 54% of my stuff. If I'm going to take a stand on Boston, and my highest exposed guys are Tatum and Brown, I feel like I'm doing that correctly. I'm over a bit on Drew Holiday. He wasn't ideal in game one. The two guys that I'm light on are Al Horford and Derek White. That's just how it's going to have to work. You can't just be over on every single option. But the guys that I'm interested in, $3,800 Luke Cornett at 9% owned. I have 28%. I know it went really well for Cornett last time out. I see no reason it can't again. Could play even more than 28 minutes if they need it. Did in game one. We have him 15% optimal, 9% owned. To me, it is very hard to avoid Luke Cornett as a sneaky option at sub 10% ownership. Pritchard is probably a tad over-owned at 30%, but he's still in close to 20 of mine. And I'm happy to be neutral on Sam Hauser just because of that position and price. But the moral of the story is you got to play Boston. I mean, we have 35% optimal Tatum, 35% optimal Jaylen Brown, 30% optimal Holiday, 30% optimal Al Horford, 25 to Derek White, 20 to Pritchard, 15 to Cornett, 12 to Hauser. Now we have massive negative leverage to Derek White, massive negative leverage to Al Horford. Well, surprise, surprise, those are the two main guys from Boston that I'm also lighter than. So I am in lockstep with the boom bust tool when it comes to Boston. You can get their pay up options pretty easily, and they're not as crazy owned as you would expect. So get Tatum, number one priority. Get Jaylen Brown, for me, my number 2 priority. Get Drew Holiday, number 3 priority. Those 3 guys are in 50% of my lineups apiece. And then get to Luke Cornett if that ownership stays around 10%. What do you guys want to do with Boston? Because there's a lot to like. It's really wild to think that the main 8 guys in Boston's rotation are pulling 240% ownership. Like, everybody's getting love. Everybody's getting it. Play them all except Horford. Horford is scary, especially in this series. It's hard to go under on Derek White, Jeff says. Well, I took the under PRA on Prize Picks today, so I'm finding it easy to do, but scary to do. Hard to not like White and Tatum. That's the thing with Boston. You can kind of just pick at whatever 2 dudes you want, and you're like, okay, those are my guys. I'm sticking with Brown and White, says Ken. Like, you can go any direction here. Doesn't feel like a lot of love for Drew. There we go. Ron says Tatum and Holiday. Now we're talking. Brown, Tatum, White, Cornett for value. This is going to be another slate where I'm not going to get a ton of Luka. So no surprise to me that I'm getting Tatum, I'm getting Brown, I'm getting Donovan Mitchell on the opposite side. And we have a lot of value here. That's what OKC is bringing, whether that's Wiggins, Joe, Cason Wallace, Jalen Williams, the center. We got a lot of value coming up for OKC. There's too many options ahead of Drew. Yeah, but he's 5,800. 30% optimal on Drew. Trong, no sales right now. Yeah, $15 is the price. Yeah, Jack. See, that's where I'm seeing it right now. Take Drew over Garland all day. I agree. There's always that opportunity for, an outlier defensive stat day from Drew. But I mean, that whole starting 5, they look great. Like, just because I don't have a lot of Al Horford doesn't make me think that he's not a good play. But I think Cornett's the sneak if he really is 9% owned. And then just give me Brown and Tatum. Like, assuming this game goes the way that we expect, Boston's got a 113 implied total. That is massive. 2 or 3 of these guys are going to be where you want to lock it down. For right now, it's Brown, Tatum, Holiday with the flyer of Cornett. I will happily swap out one of those dudes in the stuff that I build for one of Horford, Pritchard, White, or Hauser. But I think Boston's fantastic today. They are currently my second most exposed team. OKC is the team I have the most of. Cleveland, unsurprisingly, the team I have the least of. All right, hit that like button, folks. If you haven't done it yet, we're up to 243 people in the door at this point. We'll talk about shows for the rest of the day. Coming up later today at noon Eastern time, 12 p.m., We have Lofty and Greg for MLB Live Before Lock. Then myself and Eric are back tonight at 6 p.m. for NBA Live Before Lock with myself and Greg. Then 7 p.m. Eastern time on playback exclusively. We will watch the first half of the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics. Jason Gordon, Tatum over Luka, for me, very easily. Not that I like it. It's never, ever, 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 ever fun to be light on Luka Doncic. However, I'm a big believer in OKC in this series. I'm a big believer in, well, the Boston side more than Dallas, but Luka Doncic is 11,600. Let's just start there. He's 33% owned. I actually have 16% today. I have him in for 42 minutes. We have him 37.2% optimal, 37.2% owned. We do have enough value to get to Luka at this point. But it looks like I'm going to be playing it, hoping that Luka Doncic just isn't the highest overall scorer on the slate. If he doesn't get to that top spot, you're probably safe to not have him. Trust me, it's not comfortable. But when you start looking at everybody at the top, Luka at 11.6, SGA at 9,500, who we'll talk about, 9,400 for Tatum, 8,800 for Mitchell, even 8K for Jaylen Brown. There's a lot of cost-effective options that aren't Luka Doncic. That said, you guys know it. I know it. He can go out there tonight and have 80 fantasy points, and no one's going to be shocked. No one. He's that good. I expect to be light on Luka. There are two plays on Dallas that I think are unassailable. The first is Daniel Gafford. He's 4,900. He's center only. He's currently projected for 70% ownership, and I have 68. I think he's a no doubt about it play today. We have him 70% optimal, 70% owned. I have him in for 26 fantasy points. We actually have him in for 30. Regardless of how we want to look at that, he's awesome. And you can see it here. Daniel Gafford played 27 minutes in game one. He was only a -2. He did a great job protecting the rim. He's going to get a lot of easy touches like Joe Val did in the previous series. And he could have very easily, if this game is more competitive, closed and played the final couple minutes and played upwards of 30. I think 26 minutes is a very safe amount of minutes to give him. I think the upside is 30 or 31. But even in 26 minutes, Daniel Gafford's in 70% of my lineups. The second guy that I want to get to is $3,200 Josh Green. Small forward, power forward eligible. He's very active early. Now, he played 25 minutes in game one. I have him projected for 20. He picked up 5 minutes to close when the game was over. Now, I do think he can close in certain situations. But even if you just take those 5 minutes away, at 20 minutes, even as a 0.6 fantasy point per minute guy, he's in half of my stuff. Josh Green and Daniel Gafford are the two guys that I absolutely positively have. That I can't avoid. But we have 35% ownership to Luka Doncic and 35% ownership to PJ Washington. I have half of that on Doncic and a quarter of that on PJ Washington. I basically never get to Washington. He's 5,600. He's power forward center eligible. We have him 37% optimal, 33% owned. So the boom bust tool does like PJ Washington. I don't. His ability to shoot is really problematic right now. And it really just all comes down to who OKC gives up and allows to get some of those looks. But I will continue to be fading PJ Washington, and I'm okay with that. I think there are better value options out elsewhere. Derek Jones is fine. He's 16% owned. Kyrie only 12% owned. This is the same situation that I saw the night of game one. I think he's very interesting as a guy to be different in a large field GPP. We have him 19% optimal, 12% owned. I'm not getting there. If you are a bit more of a believer in Kyrie and a bit less in Donovan Mitchell, then you could probably get to a bit more of Kyrie. But I have Kyrie projected like 5 points worse than Donovan Mitchell. The prop market just doesn't support an $8,700 price tag for Kyrie Irving. We have him at 41.8 fantasy points. I have him at 41.9. If I'm going to Dallas, I really just want it for Daniel Gafford and for Josh Green. And obviously, like any Luka that I get, I'm cool with. What are your favorite plays for Dallas today, guys? Low owned, banged up Luka. He's 37% owned. I don't know if we're going to be able to call him low owned today. Why does Green have to play more than Hardaway when they need scoring? I think the better question is, why do you think Tim Hardaway is a scorer? %22 usage, 54% true shooting this year, which is 30th percentile. Last year, 55.5% true shooting, 35th percentile. Tim Hardaway Jr. shot 35% from three. That is below average. He shot 40% from the mid-range. That's below average. What's scoring? What's scoring? He's not a scorer. He's just not good. Lefty Shank, yeah, I see that path where it ends up having to be a bit more of a Derek Lively game. Heading into lock, I don't think that I would have 68% Gafford, 0 Lively. I would probably try to get around the field of Lively, give myself an out. So if Luka drops 80, are you dead if you don't have him? Yes. 100 million% dead. Kid needs to close with Gafford. I mean, he's absolutely closing with Gafford as long as he can. What else is he useful for? Nothing. It's Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm not the one that's putting any value on him. He stinks. There's a reason that he doesn't play. Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's useful for anything. But yeah, if Luka drops 80, you are done. You are done. If you have Luka and he drops 80, you're happy. And if you sign up for Sleeper, you get a $500 deposit match bonus, and then you are happy. There is a link in the chat. Sorry, there is a link in the description of this video. If you click it and sign up, they will match any deposit bonus, any deposit up to $500, any amount. $427, that is what they'll match. $194, that is what they'll match. You can't really ask for a better deal there. You get a lot of additional loot right out of the gate. Play through that bonus, figure out if you like it or not. If you do, stick around. If you don't, you've given yourself a much better head start. Odd Shopper's got a ton of sleeper options for you. We have a sleeper optimizer. We'll just take all the best plays and build out the card for you. It's that simple. They have dynamic payouts as well, so you can get multipliers that'll get you up to 100x. If you haven't signed up at Sleeper yet and you like to play at the pick'em sites, don't waste any time. Do it right now. Click the link in the description. All righty. Well, here's OKC, my favorite team of the day. I have all of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's start with how their ownership is projected. 50% to Shea, 35% to Lou Dort, to Jalen Williams, and to Chet Holmgren. 20% to Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe. And around 10 to 15 on Cason Wallace, other Jalen Williams, and Josh Giddey. I'm going to just let it rip and hit you guys with all of the dudes that I have 35% of or more. 35% of Cason Wallace, 45% of Chet Holmgren, both guys over the field. 60% of Isaiah Joe. That'll come down, but the value principle stands. Jalen Williams, not with the Y, the real good Jalen Williams in 50% of my lineups. 40% of Lou Dort. 60% of SGA. I want all of Oklahoma City here. All of them. I have no problem getting to a $9,500 SGA. He's in 60% of my lineups. 50% of Jalen Williams. 40% of Dort. 45% of Chet. 4 of the 5 starters are in 40% of my lineups. I love, love, love getting to Oklahoma City. Now we need to have the Josh Giddey conversation. He played like 17 minutes in the first game. They were leaving him completely open. The shot looked awful. He didn't get to play as much. I went 22 minutes. I don't get a single share of him at 22 minutes. And I think he's way more likely to play less than 22 than more than 22 today. I'm going to be avoiding Josh Giddey. I also took his under on Prize Picks. Aaron Wiggins was the hot offense in game 1. Could certainly do it again at 4K. Small forward eligibility. Probably gets a bit of a benefit of those reduced Josh Giddey minutes. Cason Wallace is going to be out there for around 20 minutes. Point guard, shooting guard, 3,400. Only 14% owned. I'm 2.5xing Cason Wallace. Love the value. OKC is where you go for your pay down options. For your Aaron Wiggins. For your Cason Wallace. For your Isaiah Joe. For your Jalen Williams. All of these dudes look like really nice values depending on what you're really looking for. But I think OKC is pretty clearly the best option today. But I'm happy for all of it. And I love how much I'm getting of the pay up options. Like if I'm going to be light on Luka, which I am, I'm over the field on SGA. I'm well over the field on Jason Tatum. I'm 2xing Tatum. I'm 2xing Donovan Mitchell. I'm basically 2xing Jaylen Brown. I'm getting to everybody else. The only thing that matters to me today, based on ownership, is whether or not Luka Doncic goes crazy. He's always live to do it. But the situation that I look at for Oklahoma City and for Boston, I think it just looks better. What do you guys want to do with Oklahoma City? Let me ask it this way. Who are the guys you definitely don't like on the Thunder? Because they're clearly the best overall team in terms of having a bunch of pay down options and then having people up and down the tiers. Who are the guys that you want to avoid after you heard all of that? Rough buff. Dort. Okay. 4,800 small forwards, man. You guys not liking Dort? I don't. Okay. Let's look at the boom bust tool. Everybody right around their optimals. No crazy leverage either direction. In and around 45% optimal for SGA. In and around 30 to 35 on Jalen Williams and Dort. In the 20s for Joe. In the 30 for Chet Holmgren. In the teens for Giddey, Wiggins, Cason Wallace, other Jalen Williams. Avoid all of OKC except Jalen Williams. That is a take. That is a take. I wish this game were first. I just want to watch this one. I don't want to watch Cleveland and Boston. Isaiah Joe night? I hope so. I hope so. 3,200. Tonight, not much different than 2 days ago. Yeah, I think I agree. I think it all looks pretty comparable. Let's take a look at what came out as my number 1 lineup on DraftKings out of my first sim. That would have been Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Josh Green, Daniel Gafford, Jaylen Brown, Isaiah Joe, Donovan Mitchell. Holiday, White, Tatum, and Brown with Donovan Mitchell on the opposite side. I like that build. Isaiah Joe, and then just value for OKC. This is the Antoine Murphy special, although it's not Jalen Williams. It's just Isaiah Joe. Then you get Josh Green and Daniel Gafford on the Dallas side. Number 1 lineup in ROI. Would you go LeVert or Okoro? I would never go Okoro if Allen is playing. LeVert's fine. He's also worse if Allen is playing. Who's the chalkiest player on the slate? Daniel Gafford. Which I don't think should be all that surprising. So right now, the guys that I'm most over the field on: Isaiah Joe, Donovan Mitchell, Jaylen Brown, Cason Wallace, Jason Tatum, Luke Cornett. Guys I'm most under the field on: Darius Garland, Al Horford, PJ Washington, Luka Doncic. Oy. Best low owned play? If Luke Cornett's 9.2% owned, it's Luke Cornett. For sure. Easily. Giddy, easy lock. That's one take. It's probably the worst one that showed up in chat so far, but that's one take. Any other questions you guys have? Reminder, MLB live before lock at noon. Gafford is so jerk off. Brandon Katz is here. Gafford has had big games in 4 straight games against OKC. Gafford is underrated. That's a dumb take by Josh. Josh is playing 70% of Gafford, you moron. Goodbye. Ban user, delete comments. Don't know how you snuck in here. Good riddance. Just got done talking about how Daniel Gafford's the most owned guy and he's my most exposed play. But, you know, what are we going to do? We got a super chat. Official Chris Presto. Hi, Josh. Can I have 3 value plays in my lineup to cash? Stop just trying to cash. That'll be my first recommendation. That will help you out tremendously in life. If you're looking for value, we're going to say Daniel Gafford at 4,900. We're going to say Lou Dort at 4,800. And I'm going to say Josh Green at 3,200. Thanks for that super chat, though. Claw, I'll watch Giddy get 14 minutes as he gets fully played off the floor in a playoff series like everyone would expect him to. What's my first Luka line? Let's take a look. Holiday, Isaiah Joe, Jaylen Brown, Josh Green, Luke Cornett, Shea, Dort, Luka. Looks good. Definitely looks good. Who's the white of the night front runner? Chet. For sure, Chet. Alrighty, folks. That was a fun one. I like these 2 games for DFS. I definitely like the Dallas OKC game for what I actually want to watch. MLB live before lock at noon. NBA live before lock at 6 p.m. tonight with myself and Eric. Go check out my Prize Picks video on the Odd Shopper channel. Check out everything that we have, whether it's on this Stochastic channel or the Odd Shopper channel. Either direction, you're going to get a lot of good content. And then all of the written stuff that we'll have on Stochastic, plus premium Discord. Guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for being here. One more day this week. You don't get me on live before lock tomorrow, so enjoy it today. I'll talk to you later.